In 1912, a home in Villieca, Iowa became the attraction of a grisly crime. 6 children and 2 adults were found killed by an axe. However, the killer took his time with these murders as he had not used the sharp side of the axe to murder them. Instead, the blunt edge of the axe was used to cause trauma to their heads. The home soon became an attraction for tourists and ghost hunters who believed the spirits of those who had died remained at the home. While this is quite normal for places where murders have taken place, the story actually gets darker. In 2016, Robert Laursen, who was a regular paranormal visitor to the home, was found dead inside it. The man had lost his life to a self-inflicted stab wound, which allegedly took place at 12:45 a.m., the same time that the original murders took place. Probably the most famous ghost story in the world, Bloody Mary tells the story of a woman who suffered a tragic fate. Mary, although her last name is unknown, was allegedly killed by a man who loved her right in front of her bathroom mirror. Her spirit was restless and unable to find peace. She now wanders from place to place through reflective surfaces. She can be called by saying her name in the mirror 3 times. However, what she does to you when you call her changes depending on who you ask. Some simply say that she will show you the future or your future partner, while others say that Mary may disfigure or even brutally kill you. The Old Hill Burial Ground in Concord, Massachusetts is said to be haunted by a woman searching for her lost child. The woman manifests as a floating light which appears to people. Although the light is benign and doesn't harm people, there are a few people who are scared that the spirit may carry away their children, mistaking it as her own. In 1918, a boy from Hokkaido purchased a doll for his younger sister. The doll was called an Okapa doll, which was a traditional Japanese doll with a bob cut hairstyle. Sadly, the young girl eventually died from the common cold. The family, however, kept the doll in a shrine to their daughter. The story starts to get creepy when the family noticed that the doll's hair was slowly getting longer. This led the family to believe that the doll was possessed by the spirit of their deceased daughter. They entrusted the care of the doll to a temple, where it allegedly remains to this day, with its hair slowly growing. You can actually visit the doll, however, taking pictures of it is strictly prohibited. The priests at the temple claim that they have nightmares of the doll, and visitors say that the doll's mouth is slowly opening and baby teeth are growing inside it. The story of Emily's Bridge is a tragic story from the city of Vermont. This tragic tale tells of a young girl named Emily. She was from a very poor family. However, she had fallen in love with a man from a very rich family. Sadly, the man's parents didn't want them to be together. The man, still wanting to be with her, told her to wait at the bridge for him, where he would meet her at midnight. Sadly, he never showed. Distraught from heartbreak, Emily jumped from the bridge into the brook below and died. Locals claim that her spirit never found peace, and she can now be seen at the bridge every night, waiting for the love that would never come. The Flying Dutchman is the story of a ship that was doomed to sink and a crew that was doomed to keep coming back. According to the legend, in the 17th century, a ship named the Flute was trying to make port in Cape Town when they came across treacherous seas. Even though the crew thought that it was a good idea to head for calmer waters, the captain ordered them to push forward. The ship sank, but in the centuries since it did, many sailors have claimed to see it floating in the ocean. According to the legend, seeing the ship is a very bad omen, and it may mean that the vessel you are currently on will also soon sink. The Flying Dutchman and its captain is now cursed to keep sailing the sea forever, never being able to make port. The Greenbrier ghost is the spirit of a woman named Zona who died in 1897. Although the death of the woman was ruled as natural causes, something strange happened during the trial. During the trial, the mother of the dead woman claimed that her daughter's ghost came to her and told her that she was murdered. The mother claimed that her daughter's spirit told her that her husband murdered her. Armed with this information, the lady was able to get her daughter exhumed, and after a 3-hour autopsy, it was revealed that she had actually not died of natural causes and that she was in fact murdered. The killer was sent to prison, and the spirit of the young woman eventually found peace. According to local legends in the Durban area, the Higginson Highway is haunted by a young woman named Highway Sheila. The woman was allegedly killed by a speeding driver who did not see her on the road. People who drive on the road have allegedly seen her tortured spirit wandering around. Although some are able to pick her up in their vehicles, she doesn't stay for long before disappearing. Other versions of the legend claim that Highway Sheila waits on the roads looking for people who are speeding or driving recklessly. She causes them to get into vehicular accidents that kill them as a form of revenge for her own untimely death. A creepy story has been making the rounds on the internet since the early 2000s. In the story, a family acquires a ventriloquist doll. However, over the weeks following the purchase, terrifying things started to happen in their home. At first, they started to see the doll move and they would find it in places that they didn't leave it. But things quickly escalated from there. The youngest child in the family claimed that he heard the doll talk to him in a low and soft voice. Although the family had tried to get rid of the doll multiple times, by throwing it in the trash and driving out to the middle of nowhere and leaving the doll, it kept coming back. The only way the family finally got rid of the doll was by burning it. Jessie, the ghost of a girl who allegedly died in the 1950s, is claimed to be haunting the former hospital building in Jacksonville, Florida. Many people go to the building in search of the girl's spirit, and those who have seen her claims that she's a preteen girl in a white dress. Although the exact circumstances of her death is unknown, it's most likely that she was a patient at the hospital who couldn't find peace. Jessie's spirit is claimed to just wander around the building, and although no one knows what she's looking for, those who have seen her claim that she's relatively harmless. If you hear the sounds of rats or mice in your home, you may have a kikimora living with you. The kikimora is a female house spirit that invades your home through the keyhole and that lives behind your stove. This creature is known to make the sounds of rats and mice in order to get people to believe that everything is normal while it steals their food. While normally the spirit is benign and doesn't cause harm to the family it lives with, there have been cases where it's been known to sit on the chests of children and strangle them. After she learned that the man that she was in love with did not want to be with her, a woman in Mexico named Maria drowned her 2 children in a river. When she came to her senses and realized the terrible thing that she did, she drowned herself as well. Unfortunately, heaven did not want her, and Maria was forced to wander the river where she drowned her children for eternity. Many people claim that they have seen her close to the river crying. The legend has taken on the name La Llorona, or the Wailing Woman. Some people claim that if she finds unattended children, she may take them to the river and drown them, mistaking them for her own children. The story of Minnie Quay is a ghost story from Michigan. According to the story, Minnie fell deeply in love with a sailor. However, her parents forbid the union. with her mother even saying that she would rather see her daughter dead than with him. Eventually, the sailor died at sea, which left Minnie so heartbroken that one night, when she was charged with watching her brother, she left him at home alone, walked to the pier, and jumped off, taking her own life. If you happen to be in Michigan and come across her headstone, locals say that you have to leave something behind, or she will follow you home. Nantuck's Lane in Rotherfield is allegedly haunted by the spirit of a woman who did something terrible. In the 17th century, the woman poisoned a man to death. However, she wasn't very stealthy about it, and the crime was quickly detected by law enforcement. She evaded the police for several days, but was eventually forced to run into the forest, after which she was never seen again. According to local legends, she died in the forest, and the place that she died in, a circular patch of land, was forever cursed to be unfertile, with no vegetation growing on it. The story of Old Book follows the ghost of a man that used to stay at the Peoria State Hospital. The man was allegedly mute, but according to the legend, every time someone died at the hospital, he would go to a tree in the graveyard and silently cry. When Old Book himself died, his funeral was attended by hundreds of staff and patients. However, as they lowered the casket down, the workers at the graveyard remarked that it felt very light, almost as if it was empty. It was at this moment that a loud crying was heard from the same tree that Old Book used to mourn other patients at. The crying only stopped when the casket was opened to confirm whether Old Book was in it or not. For decades now, a creepy story has haunted young girls in South Africa. The story of Pinky Pink is the story of a spirit that haunts bathrooms in South African schools. According to the story, if you go to the bathroom alone, you may come across a being dressed in a school uniform but covered in blood. Once you encounter the spirit, there is no escaping it. It will kill you and then take your body to an unknown location. You will never be seen or heard from again. Other variations of the story claim that Pinky Pink will ask you a question, which you will have to answer correctly in order to leave the bathroom alive. While it's unknown if this is a true story or not, history suggests that it may have been inspired by human trafficking. The spirit of a vengeful woman known as Queen Esther allegedly now haunts a community with the same name. It's believed that a massacre occurred on the land, one ordered by Esther herself after her son was murdered by one of the people who lived there. She was eventually killed by a mob, but not before cursing the land. As early as the 1800s, residents of the community have reported hearing strange screams coming from the forest where she was murdered. Rumors of a young woman weeping in that location was also reported by hunters, who claimed that their weapons didn't work after seeing her. The story of Martha is a tragic one. It follows a young girl who was sent to the Huntington College at the behest of her father. Unfortunately, this led to her becoming embittered, depressed, and lonely. Martha couldn't make friends because other students felt she was rude and standoffish. Eventually, she took her own life. The student who found her body claimed that she saw red lights flashing and flying out of the room as she approached. Since then, a number of other students have claimed to see those lights in the Montgomery Hall of the college. They take this as a sign that Martha's spirit never left the college, and that she still haunts it to this day. In Brazil, the story of a tall, skinny woman haunts families. According to the story, the woman creeps along the rooftops of homes and watches the families inside. She watches them as they eat their dinner and then waits for one of them to go to sleep. She then sneaks into the bedroom of the victim and sits on their chest so they cannot move. As the victim wakes up, they find that the weight of the skinny woman on their chest is actually stopping them from breathing. The skinny woman watches the victim helpless, trapped, and unable to call for help as they suffocate to death. A spirit that cuts people in half haunts the urban areas of Japan. According to the story, a young girl was on her way home when she fell onto train tracks. She was tragically hit by the train, which cut her in half. She now haunts the urban areas of Japan, pulling her upper body using only her arms. If she sees you, she will chase you. When this happens, you should not let her catch up to you. If you do, the ghost will cut you in half, just like she was. In 1968, a young South African woman named Marie Charlotte had just become engaged to the love of her life. Everything was going well, and the couple were on a trip to the outskirts of Uniondale in the Karoo. Unfortunately, things were about to turn tragic. Marie was asleep in the back of her fiance's VW Beetle when he lost control of the car in stormy weather. Roughly 20 kilometers from Uniondale, the car rolled, instantly taking Marie's life. However, unlike other cases, where the person who passed away would finally get to find peace, this wasn't what happened to Marie. According to drivers who still use the road, the ghost of Marie can still be seen waiting on the side of the road for her fiancé to pick her up. Although some people have picked the spirit up in their cars, she only stays for a short while before disappearing. The Valley of the Shadow of Death is one of the most haunted roads in the world, and definitely one that you wouldn't want to travel on alone. This road is near the Mojave Desert in California, and it's claimed that a woman was killed here after the car she was traveling in got into a very brutal accident. People who travel the road have allegedly seen her apparition, as well as heard noises and screams in the fog. It's even claimed that some of the people who have traveled on this road have disappeared into thin air after seeing the woman. The ghost of a woman looking for her dead daughter allegedly haunts New York. According to the legend, the woman's daughter was murdered by one of her boyfriends, who hid the body where she would never be found. The girl's mother, heartbroken by the death of her daughter, died shortly after. Now her spirit roams the area of Rochester, New York, and while she is commonly benign or harmless, some stories suggest she will attack men who look like her daughter's boyfriend. A mansion in Beijing, China, is said to be one of the most haunted locations in the world. The mansion, which is made up of 50 rooms, claims to have been built on an ancient burial ground. People who have entered the mansion have claimed to hear sounds and see objects moving, and even encountered the spirits of dead people who used to work there. The mansion is now off limits because of its nature, slowly decaying and rotting away. Over 2,000 deaths have occurred within the Yorktown Hospital in Texas, and according to the stories surrounding the hospital, not all of the spirits found peace. Former patients of the hospital, which closed in 1986, claim to have seen shadowy figures, disembodied spirits, and heard terrifying screams within the hospital. The hospital is open for tours, however people warn that some of the spirits within the hospital can get violent and attack people. Zombie Road in St. Louis, Missouri has a history dating back decades as an old Native American trail. The road is allegedly said to be haunted by a woman who was killed in a car accident, Native American spirits, and patients of an asylum who died in a fire. This has made the road a popular location for ghost hunters and people looking for a quick thrill. However, many who have gone there have warned people that they may not return the same way they went, as the spirits there have the power to change people.